All right, we are live. Okay, let's see here. I think this is even streaming in HDR, so you guys are going to see all the skin flaws with this new iPhone. Okay, so today this is just a quick live stream. I'm pretty excited about what I just did. It could be the smartest thing I've ever done or the dumbest thing I've ever done. So here's what I did. Couple years ago, I bought a spec'd out MacBook Pro, 2018 MacBook Pro with 6-core i7s. This is 2 years ago. This is before the i9. I bought a spec'd out MacBook Pro, 15-inch, with 6-core i7s, the best processor that they had, 32 gigabytes of RAM. I spec'd out the laptop. It was an expensive laptop, well over $3,000. And that laptop has been amazing for editing video and everything for the last couple of years. But Apple just announced their new MacBook Pro and their new MacBook Air with the M1 processor. So I began to look at the benchmarks on the new computers that have the M1 processor. And spoiler alert, here it is, the MacBook Air with the M1 processor. So I began to look at those computers and the specs in terms of processing power and in terms of video editing power, because obviously I use it to edit video. And what I discovered is that the MacBook Air, the new 2020 MacBook Air with the M1 processor, which I'm currently setting up with a hard drive backup here, that it had almost twice the computing performance as my 2018 MacBook Pro that was spec'd out. I mean, 6-core i7s, they didn't have the i9 again, they had the i7s. So I had a computer that from a couple years ago was well over $3,000 that was half of the performing machine as the new MacBook Airs. So I thought to myself, well, this sucks, right? Like I hate that I've got a 2-year-old computer that's already being beat out by a freaking MacBook Air. Well, then I got this idea, and so I'm going to pass along this idea to you guys, because maybe you're in a similar situation where you're sitting on a Mac computer from a year or two ago that's already kind of, dated because of these new M1 processors and how amazing they are. So here's what I did. I hopped on Apple's website, and they have a trade-in program. If you just Google like Apple trade-in, you'll find a link. You can scroll down and you can see, all the different stuff you can trade in: phones, computers, everything. So what I did was I looked up the trade-in value of my spec'd out 2018 MacBook Pro with all of those increased specs. Oh, I forgot that I also paid money to increase the graphics card of that 2018 MacBook Pro as well. So I had maxed out the RAM, maxed out the graphics card, maxed out the processing power. Didn't max out the hard drive because I saved on that, but it was, very expensive computer. So Apple comes back here a couple days ago, and they quote me a trade-in value of $1,100. It's like, well, okay, so in 2 years' time, it's gone from being well over $3,000 to now essentially just a little over $1,000 in terms of value. So that's kind of disappointing, but the new MacBook Air that is outperforming my 2-year-old spec'd out MacBook Pro is $1,000. And if with the features that I was looking at, I wanted to get the one that had the extra core on the graphics processor, so it was like $1,250. That's what the MacBook Air model that I was looking at was $1,250, $250 above the base model price. And I would get an $1,100 credit from Apple for trading in my 2-year-old MacBook Pro that was spec'd out that I paid over $3,000 for. So on one hand, this could be the dumbest thing I've ever done, because I traded in a 2-year-old laptop that I spent over $3,000 on, traded it in, paid about $150, and got a new laptop that's not a MacBook Pro, it's the MacBook Air, because in the computing power, the reviews I'm seeing, the computing power is significantly better. So that could be the smartest thing I've ever done, or it could turn out to be the dumbest thing I ever have done if this doesn't work out like I'm thinking it's going to work out. But based on the reviews I'm seeing in the not just Geekbench scores and not just benchmarks, real world computing using Final Cut Pro and other software, the real world tests that I'm seeing are that the new M1 chip from Apple is just blowing away everything else. It's blowing, like right now, the new M1 chip on the base model MacBook Air, the benchmarks on it are beating out their $4,000 MacBook Pro that's on their store that you can buy right now. That makes absolutely no sense. You can buy a $4,000 MacBook Pro from Apple that doesn't have the computing power of their base model MacBook Air for $1,000. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Like, doesn't compute. So there's this weird like disconnect going on with these new chips. And I didn't want to wait, honestly, until they, announce an iMac that's got 2 M1s or whatever they're going to do with, their higher end machines. I honestly kind of like the idea of having twice the computing power that I had from 2 years ago at a bargain price point with 18-hour battery life on this machine. So let me show you this. It's still, I don't really have a whole lot I can show you because, as you can see here, it is still loading up from my backup on this hard drive. Ooh, that's getting a little bit warm. This computer, on the other hand, wasn't quite fully charged. About an hour ago when I started this backup, it wasn't quite fully charged, and so it's been cranking for an hour, and you can see the battery has only gone down just a little bit. The other thing I like about this computer is my MacBook Pro from 2 years ago had the butterfly keyboard, and fortunately I got lucky. I wasn't one of the ones that had any issues with the butterfly keyboard, but I didn't like the feel. It didn't have like a nice clicky feel. This new keyboard here, and I don't want to hit anything because it's backing up, but the travel and the clickiness, I guess, of the keyboard is so much better than the version that they had a couple years ago. So the keyboard improvements are amazing. The other thing that I love is, if you got a MacBook Air a couple of years ago, I don't believe you had, these speaker grills, kind of like the MacBook Pros have, but these have the speaker grills on both sides. So you can see that there. You are limited only to two USB-C inputs. On the other side here, you'll notice, if I can show you, the only thing you'll see is it's got a headphone jack. That's literally it. So you're stuck using two USB-C ports. So I can have like one peripheral running along with, having it plugged in. Now, on the other hand, the battery life on this thing is so good. There's no fans running, no mechanical parts. Runs nice and cool. Lots of just battery life out of it. That, you're probably not gonna... Oh, there's Don on there. That's cool. Don says that he has a USB-C hub. So interestingly enough, yeah, I've got all kinds of dongles from my previous generation computer that, open up. You can plug in and open up lots of other dongles, or lots of other inputs. So like USB-C and stuff, like or on this microphone here that I use for voiceover sometimes on YouTube. This is a USB microphone. I usually have an adapter that I plug that in with. So in any case, as you guys can see here, I'm going to be rocking a smaller screen, 13-inch instead of 15-inch, but for basically $150, I was able to walk into Apple, trade in my old computer, and get a new one that has twice the computing performance. Not bad for $150. And again, it's either the smartest thing I've ever done or the dumbest thing I've ever done. So only time will tell on that one. So yeah, it's just weird. We're at a place like where this is kind of like this philosophical thing, but it says, why are you live? Is it an unboxing? No, not an unboxing. This was just me kind of showing you guys, hey, I traded in my old MacBook Pro and got the MacBook Air, and I'm actually going to be editing all of my stuff now on a MacBook Air. And it's like, well, why didn't you get the MacBook Pro It's because this is the new MacBook Pro, 13-inch MacBook Pro has essentially the same benchmarks that the new MacBook Air does. And then the ones that have like the i7 and i9 processors, I saw a guy today that benchmarked his i9. He had 6-core i9 processors, and the MacBook Air base model blew his i9 away. I mean, that's embarrassing. So that's why I'm not, buying a higher end computer, because they're not actually higher end. These new MacBook Airs are actually outperforming computers that are 4 and 5 times as much money. So it just kind of blows my mind. So I did go with the upgraded version of the processor of the M1, which included an extra core for the graphics, just because I do a lot of graphics intensive applications. So I did buy that. And for the extra money for that upgrade, which was $250 above the base model price, I also doubled the size of my storage. So I use a lot of external storage. Like, I highly recommend the Samsung solid state drives. They're expensive, but they're super compact and they're blazing fast. So I use a lot of external hard drives for work and for everything that I do. So I'm not too dependent upon the built-in storage, quite honestly. And Apple makes you pay a lot of money for storage, so that's why I chose not to go with that. But just kind of wanted to show you guys then, obviously, then the new toy. Yeah, if you're late to the video here, watch it from the beginning, because I literally traded in a very expensive laptop to get this one. Insta361R with a Leica sensor. It's incredible, amazing. Yes, thanks for checking out my review. It is a great camera. Yeah, I still use that camera from time to time for various things. I take it with me for a lot of B-roll footage when I'm shooting footage of myself in the gym, testing out a product. So, speaking of products, I have 2 things that are going to be coming up very, very soon. 2 videos coming up very soon. One is I'm going to be announcing the winner of the Casio G-Shock. So I've got to reach out to that individual, set it up, ship it to that individual, and make sure that they get it before I actually record the video. Just so I can be truthful. I don't want to do a video where it's like, hey, here's the winner, and then that person never actually received the prize. So have to do that first, but that'll be coming up very, very soon. I'll be reaching out to that person here probably this weekend to notify them that they've won. The second thing is I've got the TicWatch review coming up. Fascinating product, $300 Android smartwatch that kind of competes with the Apple Watch in a lot of ways, because it's got Android's built in, and also TicWatch's built in applications and health applications and things like that. So it was a really fascinating experience to kind of work with an Android Wear device that kind of competes in terms of price and in some places performance with the Apple Watch. There were definitely areas where the Android experience was worse, and definitely areas where it was better compared to the Apple Watch. So looking forward to putting that review. I'm hoping to maybe get some time this weekend to start that, maybe finish that review, but I've just been real busy with work and some other, just a lot of things going on. So, but anyways, that's all I got for you guys here today. Just thought I'd go live here real quick on a Friday as I'm kind of wrapping up things here, hopefully early at work, and then I've got to head to another job. I have like 3 jobs that I juggle at any given time, so I'm going to wrap up what I do here for the media company, and then go put on my real estate hat and go show some homes here this evening. So, but yeah, just wanted to show you guys, again, one last look. Here it is. MacBook Air in all of its glory. And believe it or not, this MacBook Air, there you can see it, proof, MacBook Air, this outperforms my $3,500 machine that I bought 2 years ago. And so Apple almost did practically a straight up trade for it. So yeah, if you guys have and here's the other thing, a friend of mine that had a couple of old MacBook laptops laying around. I mean, we're talking like ones from 2014, 2015. So that's old, I guess, old 5 years, I guess, is old for laptop. He spoke with an Apple rep who was telling him that, yeah, you can trade in multiple MacBooks and put it towards the purchase of a new one. So he had like 2 or 3 MacBooks that he was collectively going to put together to trade in towards a new one. And I think they were going to give him, you know, $800 or $900 for the 2 or 3 old MacBooks that he had just laying around. So if you've got old Mac products laying around that you never use anymore, and you know, you should check out the trade-in. They don't, and again, Apple doesn't give you necessarily what you could get on the private market. You could probably sell something on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, whatever, swappa.com. There's a lot of places you could get a lot more money for a used Apple product. Apple just makes it seamless. You just show up with the product. You don't have to erase anything off of it. Like, they do that securely for you. You just get a quote from them, trade it in, and then they apply that towards a credit of whatever it is you want to buy right there on the spot. So it literally took me like 15 minutes. I walked in with the computer that I'd already backed up. They wiped it clean and gave me a new computer, and I walked out, and that took like 15 minutes to do that. So anyways, all right, cool. I'll let you guys go. It's been 15 minutes, and hopefully to have some reviews for the TicWatch coming up soon, and then the announcement for the G-Shock video. And then I'm also working with a good friend of mine, Luke, who is running his channel, his YouTube channel, and we're going to be doing a joint video to help him out. So he's 12 years old, and he's an up-and-comer here on YouTube, and so I thought it'd be really cool for us to encourage him and give him some cred. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys go again. I always like keep talking for like 10 minutes after I say I'm gonna let you guys go, but this time I'm actually gonna end it. If I can find the end button here. There we go.